I would like to say thank you for joining us today. Thank you for taking time out to join the seminar. We hope that you leave with loads of key insights to help your business. I'm just going to brief you quickly before we go into the session. So if you need to use the toilets while you're here, toilets are towards the spa and the female is straight ahead and male is right opposite. Phones on silent, like I said before, please. And then any help during the session, feel free to go out to the front desk and we'll be happy to help you. Okay, so we'll go into the session. I would like to invite Mrs. Hansatu Adebite, who is the Executive Director of WIMBIZ Nigeria. Please welcome to the stage, Ms. Hansatu.
Thank you so much, Hadiza. First of all, I just want to welcome everybody, those of us online and those of us here. Women in Management, Business and Public Service, WIMBIZ, has always been an organization that is big on partnerships. For over 21 years now, or should I say 20 years, we have been able to inspire and empower women to continue to attain leadership positions in business, in management, and in public service. It's important for me to mention that Sparkle is a very dear partner to us because our association with their CEO is not something that happened today. We've been partners with Uzoma for over 15 years, if I'm not mistaken, on so many other different platforms. In fact, in the past, they were one of our strongest sponsors and partners as WIMBIZ. And we are very, very big on data too, as an organization. And when Uzoma reached out to us and said, look, it's high time the two of us do something, we were very willing and with open arms ready to sit on the driver's seat with them to just organize this. On behalf of our founders, our transition committee, our life members, associates, and also the management team of WIMBIZ, we just want to thank Sparkle for their support on this. I just want to also mention that because data has become so critical, it's a currency that nobody is joking with worldwide. We know what it is and what it does to strategy. It helps with planning. Data is very important in predicting trends and providing opportunities for businesses. And our WIMBIZ Capital is one of our programs that focuses on building the capacity of our female entrepreneurs. Because of course, we want to see more women contributing to the GDP and the economy of the nation. And we can only achieve that when women continue to build their capacity in areas that are very relevant. I will mention that it's not really just about this program. I see Sparkle as an organization that can help quite a number of our female entrepreneurs in diverse ways. And one of the things that they just want to sort of help to also do is just to help women begin to see how they can leverage on quite a number of things apart from data technology. And hear from quite a lot of the speakers today so that we're able to understand the relevance of technology and data in that regard. But again, I do have Uzoma here as my partner in progress. And so I'll hand over to Hadiza as she invites him. And I really want to appreciate everybody that has logged on online and everybody that is here physically. And I just want to also appreciate the Sparkle team for all their support. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Hansatu, for that heartwarming speech. A round of applause for her. Now I would like to invite our Chief Sparkler and CEO, Uzoma Dozie.
Thank you very much. Thank you, WIMBIZ. Thank you, people that showed up here and took our invite. Very quickly, I'll just say that, as Hansatu has said, data is very, very important. I'll just tell a little story. In 2012, Human Bank was working in collaboration with Women's World Banking, who happen to be one of the speakers here today, to create a solution for women in the marketplace, so that instead of them going to the banks, which was very inconvenient for their life, we would take banking to them. And so we came up with a solution called Better Banking. And Better Banking, because a better way, and Better Banking, a better way of banking than they were used to. And it is not that they were not doing any banking. Their banking was using the Agile system, which was, uncertain, they were fraught with risk. And what we did was just build a solution around it. And so what it meant now was that all those market women who used to do transactions, at the end of the day, take money and give to their job person, and the next day they might not see it, or take money and go home, and on the way home, it might just finish. And so what Better Banking did was a place to store their, so every day, instead of just taking money, giving to the Agile guy, he might not be there. Better agents will come, collect the money, and they will see how much they had on their phone through USSD banking. And a year later, we're having a conference, testimony from one of our Better customers. She says that with Better Banking now, she has been able to increase her business, and she has one more store, and now her children are going to school. So, of course, it was like, wow, just from a savings account, this has happened. I mean, like, what was the reason? But, when we thought about it, made the difference. The difference was now, she was looking at how much money she had at the end of the day. She was looking at how much money she had to spend because there was a ledger. There was some information that she could now say, it means I can actually send my children to school. It also means that, I don't have to carry this money, which, of course, when you carry money, you don't know how much it's spent. If you don't know how much it's spent, you don't know how, you can't look back. And so it was data driving decision making. Before, she did not have enough data to take decisions, so she was living on the spur of the moment. Data allowed her to give her information, give her information to take a decision, not just for now, but for tomorrow. And that is what I think in collaboration with WIMBIZ we're trying to do, Sparkle we're trying to do. A Sparkle business is about bringing all that data into one place. Your inventory, your staff payroll, your invoicing, your customers are paying. So you can see it and say, oh, I can take this decision about what I want to do. Because today, what happens, information is in different silos. There's information about everybody. There's information about Uzoma and MTN. Information about Uzoma in Diamond Bank, in Access Bank, in different places. But it is not in one place. People to say, okay, this is a holistic place. And what we're trying to do here is talk about, and we have some great speakers here who will talk about how we can use and harness the data that is there. So just like that market woman, data is everywhere. You bring it together to make decisions that will affect your life and affect your business and affect your development. So I thank you very much for coming again, and I hope we have wonderful deliberations.
Thank you very much, Uzoma. I'm definitely looking forward to learning more about using data to make business. Without further ado, we would go straight into the program for today. So I would like to invite our first speaker up, who is Dumebi. He's the founder and chief data scientist at EasyFin. So Dumebi Okwechume is the founder and chief data scientist at EasyFin, an artificial intelligence driver embedded tech startup. Prior to starting his own company, he was chief data officer at Kobo 360. He has also worked at as vice president and head of data science at Barclays Card UK. He has a solid technical background in artificial intelligence. Dr. Dumebi.
Everyone, just waiting to pull up the slides next. Just 1 second. Brilliant. Thanks very much. So I'm glad everyone here understands the importance of data. You will find that the days when companies can be successful without paying attention to the data, because data tells you about your customers, tells you about your competitors, tells you about your market. Being able to do business without data has gone. So I like this expression here because it's obvious that data is the new oil and all of those buzzwords. But the truth is, for your business to grow, you have to pay attention to data. Fantastic. So there are two areas I want to focus on, one being analytics. So the way you can use data is by, particularly when your business has large volumes of data, when you bring them together, it can give you a high level view of what's going on in your business. And that's a conventionally called analytics. It can be graphs, it can be charts, but as simple as that sounds, just graphs and charts can actually be massive insight. So a good example is I'm dealing with a business and they do merchant lending, and they put money out there and the merchants use the money and they bring back with interest. And they could see their numbers grow. So they're great. They see their month number and it's a big number. Great, our business is growing. But then when you start to break that down, they were able to tell, do you know what? Most of our money is coming from Lagos. And the rest of the market is not doing that well. And in fact, we're spending a lot of money pushing resources into those markets. So great, a high level number says you're doing well, but now being able to break that down into specifics means that you can push areas where your business it can grow further, and you can reduce costs in areas that it can't. Very simple, but you see how that can be very impactful for decision making. The second area is machine learning, and that's sort of one of our specialities. And machine learning goes from, sorry, should we move that on the screen? Goes from this clockwork paradigm where we've been doing things manually in the past. So a good example is if any of you work in finance and in fraud, what businesses tend to do is when there's a fraud case, I don't know, someone made a transaction using that's not in the beneficiary list. And someone says, yes, I see that happened once, that's fraudulent. And what it means is next time you see a new beneficiary, you say, yeah, okay, that is a suspicious transaction, I'm going to block it. But you can imagine if you're a big bank, that could be millions of transactions a year. And as possible as that sound, people still do that today. They flag cases of fraud they've seen once. But going into the clockwork paradigm, going into indeterminism, which is what machine learning does, it takes away that subjectivity. It says, yes, there is a case when fraud has happened with a new beneficiary, but I can also see several more dimensions. I can see the time of day. I can see the amount of transaction. I can see the type of business. So it means that you can, instead of being reactive on one situation, a machine can now take into consideration several more dimensions, which means you're a lot more aware of what's going on, really. And that's the benefit of machine learning. So a lot of people, particularly when it comes to machine learning, believe that it's really a technical aspect of business, but actually is a business aspect of business, machine learning. The first part to any means of leveraging data is by looking at the business. And this is where a lot of people succeed or fail. If you don't understand the business, you cannot build a solution for it. So a good example is, let's say I'm a lending business. A lot of people know how to do scorecards. This is a very common aspect of machine learning. Scorecards is when you take data, you come back with a decision on how much a person can borrow and whether they're creditworthy or not. But if you don't take into consideration the business, a good example is, let's say your business advertises during the day. I advertise during the day on radio and TV. But then because you're not paying attention, you change your advertising. You advertise in the morning, or you advertise late at night, or you advertise in different stations. what is happening is that your business is changing because the customers that come will change. So anything that you build with a machine in mind will change. And by not paying attention to the business, you are not going to be able to leverage technology fully. Very important. So as soon as you understood the business, you then collect the data. And this is where things get very difficult. Most of the effort here is on the data. Data is very important. Not necessarily a Nigeria problem, but a global problem. A lot of people struggle to do good housekeeping on data. But even if your business is 2 years old, 20 years old, every minute you spend on repairing your data is worth it. So the next part of understanding the business, preparing that data, building your model, deploying, and then what's really interesting is that it then repeats. You then get feedback. You then review the business. You then go back to the data. You then build a model, and then you observe it, and then you get feedback. Machine learning solutions is a cyclic motion. It is continuously growing and evolving. So although arguably 20% of the effort is on the technology, 80% is on understanding the business, understanding the data, and making sure that all of that works together. Just a minute to get the slides. Yeah, I'm going to move on just in the interest of time. But when we get the slides up, so sorry, you want to be guided by the slides for now. So one of the main so once you got that down, AI is applicable to everything: marketing, sales, operations. Is not just financial services. That's a big misunderstanding. The next slide would have showed you the size of the market. So there's a compound annual growth rate, if I recall, of 55.3% every year between now and 2025. So what that says is that in the coming years, more and more businesses are going to learn how to leverage their data to bring greater value to their business using machine learning. So it's a massive market. I think that the figure for 2030 is $11 trillion. I mean, that's global, by the way. Also only goes to show that it's a massively important aspect of business. And if not now, you will need to eventually learn how to apply that to your business. So the other aspect, so I would, if I can recall, the next slide is, yes, can I use your, Yes, I can use this. Perfect. Yeah, so I'm just going to use the slides as the guide. So I'm going to just skip a few sections. Yes. And I already mentioned this point earlier, and I'll just reiterate. So there's studies that show that most businesses know the importance of AI machine learning, most businesses globally, but only 20% have actually been able to use machine learning and AI for their business. And where they fail is mostly from the ability to apply it with the business. So what actually happens when you're leveraging data is that your business is learning from the data, from the machine, and the machine is learning from your business. So there's a natural synergy that needs to happen. So where most companies fail is either they don't have a good business case for the machine learning application, they don't have the right resources, or the business is not in sync with the technology. A lot of things cause that. One of the things could be, particularly if you're in a big organization, some people get very intimidated by machines. They think that it's going to replace jobs and it's going to, make things too efficient for your business. But that's not the case. More often than not, machine learning is a supporting aspect. It just means that there's more time for people to do more things instead of the mundane and perhaps the repetitive actions and the repetitive work. So that's where businesses fail. So if you're in a business that wants to leverage machine learning, the first thing obviously is to make sure that you assign the appropriate project. Something simple, something that can take 6 weeks, and something that can be done easily. The next thing is to have the key prerequisites, so quality data, to have the right capabilities and skills, and invest in training. So what you might find in this market, particularly those who want to start leveraging data with machine learning, is that it's very difficult to find the skills. And what you want to make sure that when you do have the skills, that you do have the training elements as well for them to develop. So I'll progress into the opportunities. So there's a lot of things that machine learning covers and how you can leverage your data. One of the obvious areas is robotics. So being able to automate processes. So when I used to work at Cobalt 360, one of the things we looked at is automating supply and demand matching. Very difficult to do. So let's say you're a big company, FMCG company, and you want a couple of trucks to do your trips. Being able to match the consignment to the truck can be very difficult because truck drivers have the preference of trips, of destinations, of routes. And what normally happened is that you have someone manually phoning truck drivers, you have someone manually calling the company, and that could take 2-3 days to source a truck. But if it can be done immediately, goes from 2 days to 2 seconds. So see how that could, and you add that on a day-to-day basis, how that can really automate and optimize your business. Another area is in natural language processing. So that's basically looking at text. So if your business involves receiving messages from customers, receiving social media text, receiving documents, you find that certain things machines can do now is to read those documents and create inferences, particularly if you're in a law firm or you're in a big audit firm, where you need a lot of bodies to be looking at documents, looking at spreadsheets. Machines can now make that process a lot more quicker and streamlined. Machine learning, obviously, so credit risk assessment if you're in a lending business, risk-based pricing if you're in an insurance business, collection scoring if you're in a collection business. I mean, the machine learning opportunities are quite large. Another area is natural language processing. So a lot of you must have Siri or Alexa, been able to communicate in natural language and for that to lead into an action. And of course, image analysis. So those who have businesses involving KYC verification, everyone eventually is going to be working with a digital platform, whether it's an app or website. And now, since no one goes to branch anymore to do things, you need to be able to being able to verify someone's identity off a digital platform, whether it's an app or phone. Are you the right person? Does it match your ID? And are you a real person, not a photograph? And you can see, I'm hoping you can see that that's going to become the standard. No longer do you need to go into a branch with paper, with passport photo, but digital verification, and that's machine learning. And that's now almost an essential technology. In fact, I recall having done that a few times already in recent applications. Can I get the next? So just quickly, with the rest of the time I have, just talking a bit about EasyFin. So EasyFin is an embedded intelligence business. And what's particularly important about it is that we recognize in this market, especially in emerging markets, that not everyone has a sophisticated data team, sophisticated technical team. And then what we do essentially is that we make any business, big or small, complex or not complex, leverage their data to bring greater value. And what's special about us that you won't easily find in the market is that we don't necessarily work on the straightforward concepts. We do sometimes work with very difficult and different problems. So we've had companies come to us and ask us to do things that are very unconventional. One of the things that we specialize in is that we can actually work in unconventional data, which in this market, unlike other markets, is pretty much the standard. We don't obviously have very good credit bureau traction. We don't obviously have very good data policies or management. So being in an emerging market and being able to still generate inferences from data that's unconventional is one of the things we specialize in. So we run out of time. I think probably the last thing I want to add to that is once you've decided on the data science problem and once you're applying it, the benefits are massive. It can be cost saving, it could be revenue generating, it could be better insights for your customers, and it could be better experience for the end user. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dumebio-Okwechume. Sorry. Thank you very much, Dr. Okwechume. Now we're going to go ahead and take questions from this. Okay, how about our online attendees? Nobody has any questions? As like, no questions at all. Okay, we'll go ahead with Mr. Uzom.
There's been a lot of news on information like from central bank, open banking, how it will free up and open up the economy for banking and non-banking. I mean, how does that apply? How does one break it down to simple terms for small businesses so they can understand why, data is, how they manage the data is actually important?
Thank you, Uzoma.
Thanks for the question. So yeah, open banking is going to be very transformational. Imagine being an SME and you have a customer that wants to get a product on finance plan. So let's say you're a car merchant or you're a retailer and you want to grow your business. A great value add, a customer can take it and go and then pay me back in 3 months. Don't pay small. With open banking means that you can make a decision on a customer immediately on the spot, and you don't need them to bring bank statements. You don't need them to bring verified documents. You can integrate directly to any bank, and you can make an informed decision. So it's very transformational, particularly those who are in the fintech space, who want to offer value-added service but require visibility or access to the customer's bank account. So it could be those who are offering insurance, offering loans, offering buy now, pay later, offering financing plan, anything, even verification. If someone wants to join your business, they need to verify that they're not in debt. It just means that customers don't have to go through the arduous process of going to a bank and bringing in paper and documents. So it's heading in the right direction. I've seen it work very well in the UK. And when I recall watching that process transfer, and seeing how fintechs really were able to expand sort of financial service propositions with that capability.
Otu Okere from Zoom, he's asking, how do you use data to improve music streaming for an artist?
Interesting. Wow, I mean, off the top of my head, the most obvious way, the almost thing you want to look at is basically analytics. So if you're assuming the streaming platform gives you that visibility, knowing who likes your music is very important, right? If you know where your music is played most, the demographic, age, gender, location, it could actually inform you on where you can push your music, where you can do tours, where you can do promotion, and perhaps bring you greater revenue, greater value. It also give you opportunity to test things out. So if you're trying to work out, to be creative, and you're trying to work out what people like or don't like, having that data to see what people like and how they respond to your music could also be very informative. So there's a lot of benefits from the analytical perspective. Could also support you on pricing as well. I know stream platforms, there's sort of a revenue share, so you may not necessarily be able to adjust your pricing, but just knowing how well you're performing, perhaps versus other musicians in your space, could then inform you on whether you have the opportunity to charge more for downloads and things like that. So it can give you a sense of where your performance is versus the market, and where your market is and where you should push your efforts.
Okay, thank you. We have an in-house question.
My name is Ayodele Ayola. Please, I want you to expatiate more how to use data.
Oh wow, demand and supply fashion business. So it's selling clothing and things like, oh, fantastic. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities there. I mean, the most obvious direction would be being able to, and I've seen this work very well, and this is just a use case example, but again, being able to allow people to take things to try. I've seen situations where someone doesn't know the color that fits them, and they don't, they want to order online, but they don't want to go to the store. They can order 5 different items, not pay for it up front, try the ones they like, and then return the rest, and then they pay later. But again, knowing that the customer, you can't do that easily. You need to know the customer is credible. You need to know that the customer's address, if you do need to repossess, is accurate. Knowing the customer has the money to pay when the time comes is very important. So that's one obvious avenue, and that's just from a sort of directly with this customer relationship. But internally, again, very similar to the example I mentioned with the music, is being able to understand what's selling. What I've seen, what we've supported a business do is inventory management. Be very informative, seeing what's selling quickly, what's not selling quickly, who's buying it, when they're buying it. Is your line very seasonal? So wedding period, they go very quickly, or is it ceremonial periods like Christmas and things like that? Or is it summer, people use it to travel and go, so knowing when your customers buy what could inform you on what to stock at the right time and what not to stock. I mean, that's so, and even that is very straightforward and very easy to do. So just from a high level summary, inventory management and offering customers the opportunity to pay later, which would, that pay later model, if you can get that right, would be very sweet spot.
We have another question from Zoom. Kende is asking, how can we access EasyFin?
Okay, so EasyFin is on, we have a website. The website is very high level. So by all means, put in your request. There's a form you can fill out, a digital form, and you can put down details of what you need, and then someone will be in touch. So that's.
Another question from Zoom. How do we have access to these data relevant to our business? This is by Joseph Azioba.
Okay, so there's two main avenues of data. There's the internal data you already have. So people underplay it, but the data you have is in fact probably more important than any other data because it's tailored to your customers. So the first thing is to look internally to what data you already hold. If you have a tech team, I recommend reaching out to them, seeing where they put your data, and seeing if they can give you some visibility and some basic analytics on what your data is telling you about your business. Now, depending on your business, there are also third-party data you could leverage, whether it's third-party bank statement providers, credit bureau, telco. You know, there's other data avenues you can get access to. But again, it depends on what your business needs. But what you would then do in that situation is you need to combine internal data with external data to help you run your business. So again, it depends on what your business is, but internal data is the best place to start.
So we have 4 more minutes for question and answer. I have a couple of questions in front of me. I'll try and get to them as soon as we can. So from Zoom, Fatima Abdul Karim is asking, how can machine learning help in laboratory services?
Oh, wow. Laboratory services. I mean, by laboratory services, I'm assuming testing, whether it's bloods or things like that. I mean, that's a scientific sector, right? So, I mean, I'm not a specialist in the field, but there are specialists that can use data to help that process out, to reduce the false positives and things like that. I think from a business standpoint, again, very similarly, is being able to, and actually to a certain degree, that has a healthcare implication as well, right? I can see a lot of benefits in that data from the standpoint of what are people testing often for? Obviously, during COVID period, there'd be a peak in COVID tests, but now that things have settled, is there a reduction in COVID tests? Is that transformative? Is that informative for someone? That could be. Looking at what people are testing often for, and whether there is another pandemic happening, because doctors are encouraging people, because what we don't do very well in, and not just necessarily in Nigeria, that we don't aggregate data. So what you might be able to do with that is be the first person to realize that a lot of people are testing for something, and that is showing a signs of a new pandemic that needs to be reacted into. So just, I think from a high level, without understanding your business fully, the analytics that you can provide from labs can be very informative in what's happening in the market, and actually could be relevant to a lot of entities and businesses. And by the way, just to add, that data could also be sold on. You might find that other industries might actually want to know what is happening, and that could be a good opportunity for you.
Okay, so we have 2 more minutes. I think we have time for questions. Femi Yusuf is asking, how can machine learning be used in the solar industry for product and service orders?
Product and service orders. I mean, the only obvious thing I can think of again is the opportunity, because solar cells are very expensive. You might deter a lot of those who don't have the capital. I mean, off the top of my head, I know for a standard house, you spend 2-3 million naira for cells, not even including the batteries. So being able to offer people the ability to pay in small batches. So again, like a buy now, pay later service, that I see a great opportunity there. And again, the same concept of being able to credit assess an individual and know that, you know what, this person is good for a 3 million naira product, and that can pay me back in 6 months installments, 6 monthly installments. So that's, I mean, that's an obvious avenue, especially now when people are very conscious about the environment, cautious about emissions, particularly with using gen. If you can open the solar power, solar cell market to the middle class by offering smaller payments, that could be a great opportunity there.
Thank you very much. And we'll take one last question. So what are the availability and access of machine learning to small businesses? And can anyone without formal computer knowledge work with data? This is from Aliyah Eunice.
Yeah, I mean, easy fit without going out of my way to sell. That's what we do. We help businesses that don't have the data team, don't have the machine learning capabilities or the technology capabilities to leverage data. Although we're a products company, we understand that not everyone, every problem is the same. So we are even able to do an assessment of your requirements. Back to the point I made earlier about the business being important, and recommending the best place to start leveraging your data to grow your technology. We also, for businesses that don't have a technology arm, we integrate for you. We can even move move processes to a independent platform that we own, so you don't have to worry about any of that development and requiring those skills to build those things. So EasyFit is a good place to start. But of course, and of course, even if it's just a chat, you can reach out. Happy to also give you recommendations if you want to build those skills internally as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Dumebi, for your presentation and your questions. We'll move on to the next session now. Next, I would like to invite Zino Afiebe up. He is an experienced business development and relationship management executive, hands-on digital payments practitioner, and motivational educator with over 20 years of experience in financial institutions towards developing digital payments adoption in Africa. Zeno has been an active player and driver in the collection of payments on the continent. Please welcome to the stage, Zeno Afiobe.
We have the slide on, please. While we're waiting for the slides, I would say that it's a pleasure to be here. Thank Marco, WIMBIZ for making this happen. We don't just want to have out there. We want to equip entrepreneurs, know how to use this business. And as Women's World Banking, we are biased to women. We want to see women succeed because in the family unit, women are entrepreneurial. They're also the nurturer. And if they succeed, men will succeed, children will succeed, family units will succeed, and the community at large better off. So we're very happy to talk on this topic, which is about how to automate processes in your business. Already, Dumebi has done justice with regard to understanding data, what it's all about, and how it can be utilized. I'm just going to talk more about who should we focus on, our different types of businesses, in order for us to enhance what we do in our businesses, otherwise known as processes. And once we're able to optimize our processes, we'll be more efficient, customers will be endeared to us, and we'll grow and be profitable. So before I start, I'll take a few seconds to introduce Women's World Banking. So we are focusing on, as Women's World Banking, expanding the economic assets and participation and power of low-income women and women-led MSMEs. We're interested in economic empowerment for women and also financial inclusion for low-income women. And how are we able to do this? We're able to do this with partnerships with financial service providers. And financial service providers include the microfinance institutions, fintechs, insurance companies, MNOs, commercial banks as well. And one of our partners is PACO, because these institutions, they are gateway entities. They have the direct relationship with the women we want to impact. So we work closely with them. And all over the world, we are able to currently reach 138 million women through partnerships with 62 in 5 countries. One of those institutions is PACO, like I earlier mentioned. So let's go straight into some descriptions. And the descriptions basically are some words we've heard. Processes, data. In a very simple way of explaining it, data is essentially information. Data is numbers that make sense. You know, data is all about understanding the background and the context as well of people you engage with. And from all that information, you can derive insights. Another expression we have used already in today's event, and I'm going to talk more about that, is processes. Processes, how you operate. What do you do in your business in order to provide the eventual output, the value for your customers? Are your processes analog, always in person, everything is in person? Or are they the opposite, which is digital, leveraging technology? That connects us to the word automate. Simply means leverage technology. Use non-human form factors to achieve the same outcome. Then, of course, value proposition that you want to give to customers. We're talking about the loyalty you want from customers, the referrals you want from them because they're having a nice, simple experience with you and what you're offering, and they're spreading the word on paid marketers for you. Now, what is your typical customer journey in your business, whatever business you're offering, whatever business you are into? we would say 7 steps. And I'll take us through these 7 steps, and I'm going to highlight one word that appears 3 times in the 7 steps. Apologies that you can't see what I'm saying in the presentation. Okay, online, okay, perfect. But for the benefit of those of us here in person, here is step 1, awareness, market level awareness. And that is, as a business, you have a service you're offering, but what do you know about the market? That's where data comes in. What are the numbers telling you about where there is a need, where there is demand? Awareness, market level. So as a service provider, you are aware of your market, and that takes you to step 2, which is your design of your product or process or solution or service. So number 1, awareness, market level. Number 2, the product, because you understand the market, so you know what you're going to sell to them. And then number 3 is awareness, So 3rd step is awareness now on the part of the customers. The customers now know that, okay, yes, here is a company that understands me, that understands what I need, that understands my aspiration. And therefore, the product they have, I want it. Step 4, fulfillment and value exchange. Value exchange is somebody is passing consideration or money to any of us here, entrepreneurs, business owners, and we are releasing in return the value that they have found, that we understood because we looked at the market, we were aware based on data that this is an opportunity area. Step 5, awareness, the 3rd appearance of awareness, which is about the relationship you maintain. When the transaction occurs, it doesn't end there. Many of us know this, but we need to emphasize the point. You need to maintain the relationship. You need to get those complaints, hear those complaints, ask for the complaints, resolve the complaints, enhance your proposition based on that interaction, which is actually step 6. Enhance, resolve, and optimize. And the final step is start again. Repeat and grow. So these are your typical 7 steps. I'll just go through them really quick. Awareness, market level. Number 2 is product, process, solution, service. You're developing that. Number 3 is awareness by the customer, which will lead to step 4, which is the fulfillment, the value exchange. And then step 5, awareness again, managing the relationship ongoing. And then step 6, what you get out of managing the relationship, which is enhancing your proposition, resolving issues, and optimizing the relationship. Then, of course, you can repeat and grow. Now, you notice that in these 7 steps we went through, something which is critical in automating our processes is, who do you build your processes in your business around? Is it around you as the entrepreneur or around the customer? The reason why we said take note of awareness as it appeared 3 times in that 7-step process is because if you look at it critically, you are building, and you should build, your provision of services around the customer. And there is something which we do in Women's World Banking, which is called women-centered design. Women are not a homogeneous group, all the same. There are some peculiarities, there are some unique attributes that they have. So with women-centered design, we always begin our awareness about the market by doing research. And research is incomplete without data. So we take the data. What does the data tell us? And we're going to show you an example in about a minute or 2 about what we found out about our market here, looking at low-income women and women-led MSMEs. So in the 5-step process of our women-centered design, it all begins with know yourself first as an institution, which is the define stage, define. To know yourself, know your capabilities, understand how you are set up. Okay, that is supply side knowledge. Now let's go to demand side knowledge, which is step 2, diagnose. So when you understand yourself, now know your customer, know the woman. And then when you understand the customer's daily journey, sunrise to sunset, and perspective, pinpoints and aspirations, then you can now go to step 3, which is design. This is what we do in Women's World Banking. So you now design a solution which is not only responsive to what you have found, but proactive, exceeding expectations of your customer. Then whatever it is you have crafted or designed, step 4 enables you to test. You test it, user test it with your target audience. And let them tell you what's wrong. Let them tell you what they want to be improved upon. And then you are now able to go to step 5, which is to scale. Now, while you are building your solution, and we recommend that as we would want to them, what are the most optimal channels to reach the people you want to provide your product or your solution to? If you have an analog approach, everything has to be high touch, in person. Will you really get to them? So those are some considerations. And then the last C is consistency. At the end of the day, what you want to do is minimize lengthy, complicated, and user-unfriendly processes. You want to minimize that. And you want to maximize utility, otherwise known as satisfaction, deep-seated satisfaction, and of course, engender loyalty, and then grow your business. So we carried out a research program to gather data. Remember, we said it's always important to start first with information awareness. You're building your processes as a company around your customer you want to serve. So we carried out research and we found out some interesting points about women, low-income women in the country. And we also captured some verbatim remarks from the women. So here's what one woman said about her major financial expenses and stressors. She said, because of the economic situation, things are very costly. Food is very costly. And then she gives an example of how much it costs to get meat in the market. Why do we bother to know about what her story is? Well, we have to, because she's the one who is going to spend money to patronize us, whatever it is we're offering. Here's another comment. Now, from the survey of hundreds of women in different parts of the country, we found out that among their responsibilities are daily home expenses and budgeting, shopping for food for the family, shopping for clothing, and then looking after her own small business. Many of us refer to that as side hustle. It's now commonplace. We need to understand this and get this information, the data, and the insights so that we understand what can we do differently with our own businesses in order to ensure that the women are able to patronize what we have to offer. Here are some Nigeria data points. So even if you do your own personal research, it's important to have a view of the macro picture, Nigeria as a whole. An organization called EFINA, they carry out a biannual survey, and the latest one from 2020, here are some interesting data points that we would like to take to heart. During the pandemic, almost 20 million micro businesses could not operate due to COVID restrictions. Okay, that being the case, for the supply side and the demand side, what can we do differently if and when the next pandemic comes? And we leverage technology. Technology is very broad, and we've heard even from the previous speaker about different aspects of your business that you may choose to outsource. whatever makes the most efficient and cost sense. Okay, here's another statistic. Out of the 106 million adults in Nigeria, 2/3 live in rural areas. 55% are 35 years and younger. So your business should be a going concern. Who's your target segment? Then 81% have mobile phones of 106 million adults in Nigeria. So how do you want to reach your customers? What do you want to change about your own internal processes, leveraging the fact that most people have this? So based on that, where are some opportunities? So I have just about a minute left, so I'll just go through 4 potential areas in your business where you could make decisions around leveraging technology. And I would not want to repeat some of the things that Dumebi had mentioned, but let's look at the contact phase. So that's C, contact. When you want to reach out and get in touch with your potential customers, there's an opportunity to leverage technology to make the process seamless. Another area is the onboarding itself, underwriting, which is determining whether an individual is eligible to get a particular type of service. If it's like a buy now, pay later, for example, that we heard about previously. The third area is at the point of value exchange. Now, personally, I like confectionaries, particularly Chin Chin. And there's a particular Chin Chin brand out of Festac that I like. I liked it so much. I just looked at the casing. I saw phone numbers there. I called the phone number. And then the lady picks up the phone and she says that, yes, I want to sell this product to you. And then she gets my address. I'm on the phone telling the person how to get to where I am. And it's a long process, but I get my Chin Chin. But it could have been easier, leveraging technology. And the last area is life cycle management. So I'll stop here. These are the things to bear in mind. But the last thing I'll mention is please build your business around information you gather about your customer. Let it be women-centered, let it be people-centered, and leverage partnerships. You need not invest everything by yourself, but there are other experts like Sparkle, like EasyFin, that could take the load off you because of the tech and the expertise they have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Emezino, for representation on how to automate business processes. Now we would go straight into question and answer. Does anyone in the audience have any questions for Zeno, please? How about online? Start with you, maybe.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Zeno. What I thought was very interesting is actually the feedback you got from the woman and what she would use in the cost of living. And what I thought was interesting, that a lot of the expenses she had was very family oriented, which I thought was very interesting. What would you recommend to businesses to pay attention to when it comes to doing business, like lending to women, and how they can incorporate really the true family expenses to help, to help them sustain that cost of living?
Thanks, Dumebi. So at the end of the day, like you had earlier mentioned, one thing which is lacking, not just in Nigeria, but in multiple markets, is the fact that data is not aggregated. So you have data in different pockets, and you really will need to get the information that has been gathered from research from different sources to build a representative persona. So like what we do at Women's World Banking is we look at what is the existing data that talks about the woman's entire experience, what her daily journey is from dawn to dusk, and what does that existing data tell us? Then we carry out our own research. And the research is typically focused on different types of financial services. So you have lending, for example, which you mentioned. So for a woman to be eligible to get access to a loan, what is her current experience? How is she able to be evaluated versus men? So for example, in Nigeria, we have the National Collateral Registry, which exists to enable women who do not have as much rights as men in certain parts of the country to use maybe their cars or things other than land to get access to loans. So the point I'm making is there are different sources of information, but you should take these different sources of information, pull it all together, and then develop a representative persona that this is what a woman within this particular demographic she actually needs. These are the challenges she's experiencing. Is when you have those insights, you know what to change.
All right, thank you, Zeno. We had another question in the house. Someone was raising their hand. Please introduce yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I would like to get something about the areas you could make decision. I just wanted to rephrase what you said.
Thank you very much. So looking at the 7 steps of your typical customer journey, there are many places where you could use technology, is the point I was making. And the first one is contact. So when you want to reach out to your potential customer, how do you do it? Do you go from door to door? Or do you leverage some other means? And we all know that because of social media, many people are clustered on certain platforms. So it's something to consider. Typically with all businesses, go to websites, you will see that at the bottom of maybe your contact page or all the pages on the website, you will see social media handles. The whole idea of the social media handles is you have a large group of persons who are on this platform. So instead of going knocking from door to door, you could leverage social media handles. So the first one was about contact. The second point where technology could be applied in your business, in your processes, is onboarding. So you have established contact with the customer. Like in my own case, in the story I was telling, it was pretty analog, that story, right? But let's say you leverage the person through Instagram, for example. You now want to onboard the person as a customer. You don't want the relationship to just be transactional, one-off. You want the person to come back. So what are you going to use for that? Technology can help you there. Then there's the third one, which is about the actual transaction. In that example I gave, when the person found my address eventually, I had to pay cash. Couldn't I pay in some other more convenient means? What if I didn't have cash at the location where I was? So the point of the transaction itself is an opportunity for automation. And then the fourth one I mentioned is lifecycle management. So what do you know about the customer? Does the person have an important day in his life, or maybe wedding anniversary, for example? Can you reach out to the person? What else do you know about the individual that is important to that woman or man? And how can you leverage technology to maintain a healthy relationship with that person with that knowledge that you have? So the way to do it, and how I ended on that point, was you could decide to invest by yourself, or you could outsource. So there are companies that have been established that have that expertise. They can take all the information, all the data, and make an interpretation for you and give you a platform that provides you with a dashboard to enable you to see what's happening with you.
All right, thank you, Dumebi. We have 4 more minutes, so we can take about 2 more questions. Aniwura Omalayo from Zoom is asking if you could kindly explain the slide on thinking about the 4 S's again.
Okay, thank you very much. So the 4s, you have the W, the P, and the C. Now, the W are 4 W's we should ask ourselves as we're thinking about our businesses. The first one is who. Who are you trying to serve? What do you know about this segment that you're trying to serve? The next is what. Connected to who, what is that your target audience's problem or challenge or aspiration or journey every day is very useful, because that's also going to inform what solution you offer to the audience. The third W is where. So where are they located? Where can they be found? Where can they be reached? They want your service, but how can you get to them? And then whereby is how. So how do you want to reach them? Leveraging technology in the most efficient way. And we talked about the fact that from the EFINA report of 2020, 81% of 106 million adults have mobile phones. So that whereby, how, should definitely leverage that technology. The second set of 4s is the 4 Ps: product, price, place, and promotion. So you need to understand the right price. So I'm just going to pick on price, being customer-centered, the right price for your customers, because you want them to be able to afford what you have to offer. And if you recall, I had made reference to some research we did amongst many respondents in Nigeria, and the women said that they are struggling with the high cost of living. So we bear that in mind when thinking about the right price for the solution, service, or product we have to offer. Then the 4 Cs: contact, cost, channels, and consistency. I'll talk about consistency. We want to keep that relationship going. We want to be in touch with them. We want the relationship to be long-term, and we want them to get more people onboarded to utilize the services we offer. That will keep us going, and it will make us grow.
Any more questions, please? We have room for 1 or 2. Questions online? Okay, so Orluma is asking, the presenter mentioned 7 points of customer journey, but only touched on 4. Can he kindly do all 7?
Okay, I'm going to run through the 7.
Yeah, we have just a minute left. So.
Okay. Step 1, awareness. Market level. Step 2, the product that you would provide to the market since you are now aware of them. Step 3, awareness on the customer side. Customer now know you have something to offer and they want it. Step 4, fulfillment and value exchange. You now provide the service to the customer and you collect the consideration or money, payment for the service, and give value to the customer. Step 5, awareness, sustaining the relationship. Step 6, based on that relationship you're sustaining, you're listening to the problems they have, you're solving the problems, you're enhancing the product. And finally, repeat the process.
Okay, we'll take one last question. If you could please answer that in 30 seconds. We have one in-house.
Thank you very much. My name is Bukola Arabume. This has been very, very informative and quite helpful. So truth be told, we currently do all that we do manually, absolutely manually. But from what I see, I have enough data to be able to put together to get it automated. How affordable is this? Because it's something that I'm totally up for, but I hope, being entrepreneurs is something we can afford. Thank you.
Thank you very much. 30 seconds or less. I would gladly refer you to EasyFin and Sparkle with regard to the expertise on data management and analysis, and of course, providing you a one-stop platform where your business can be sustained and supported.
Thank you very much, Zeno. Okay, so now we'll take a 10 minutes break and we can use this time to visit the restrooms, network, and basically grab some tea and sandwiches if you wish. Leveraging data, capital business growth. I'll start by inviting Ifedro Simieti. Ife is an author, entrepreneur, and young global leader with over 10 years of management and leadership experience. She's the founder of Her Economy, a community she developed driven by her own experiences to empower women through financial services, capacity building, jobs, and networking. Ife is a recipient of multiple notable awards and is listed as one of the top 100 women by Leading Ladies Africa. Please give a round of applause for Ife. Next, I would like to invite Zeno Afiebe up to the stage. As said before, he's an experienced business development and relationship management executive, hands-on digital payments practitioner, and motivational educator. With over 20 years experience working with leading financial institutions towards developing digital payments adoption in Africa, Zeno has been an active player and driver in the evolution of payments on the continent. Please give a round of applause for Zeno. Next, I would like to invite Yamo Omorobe up to the stage. Yamo is the co-founder and chief operating officer of Invest Bamboo, where she also leads growth and operations. Yamo is a CFA level 3 candidate and is working to even the playing field for access to global investment opportunities for all Africans. Please give Yamo a round of applause. Next, I would like to invite Dumebi Okwechime up to the stage. Dumebi is the founder and chief data scientist at Izipin, an artificial intelligence driver embedded tech startup. Prior to starting his own company, he was chief data officer at Kobo 360 and has also been the vice president and head of data science at Barclaycard UK. He has a solid technical background in big data management, data analytics, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. Dr. Dumebi Okwechime is a PhD holder. Please give him a round of applause. Finally, I would like to invite Toyosi Odukoya up to the stage. Toyosi is an experienced strategy, innovation, analytics, and digital transformation business leader with expertise in applying insights and analytics in ensuring an organization's competitive advantage and visions are fully harnessed for growth and impact. Toyosi has held senior roles in companies such as MTN Nigeria and Coca-Cola West Africa. Currently, she leads the business intelligence team at MasterCard Foundation. Please give a round of applause for Toyosi Odukoya. So without further ado, we'll just go ahead and start the session. First of all, I would like to question open to all the panelists. I'd like to know what you interpret data to be from your own perspective. Yes, do you want to start?
That's fine. Thank you very much. And thank you so much, Sparkle and WIMBIZ, for having me today. So I usually tell people that data in itself is of no value. Yeah. Don't be shocked until it is collected, stored in a usable format, until data is giving you knowledge and insight that can change and drive and improve how you make decisions around your customers, around your employees, around your products and services, how you serve them, and all of these things will give a profitable organization. And I usually use this beer and diaper story to further explain my point. There's this very short story, I would say. In those days, there was a story in the 90s about a retail company that had beer sold together with diaper in the same invoice, that's the same receipts every Friday evening. So they were shocked to say that, why are we having beer and diaper on the same invoice every Friday evening? And they realized that when men are coming home around in the evenings on Fridays, their wives would call them and say, hey, please, as you're getting your bottles of beers, pick diapers for the babies on your way home. So they will go and pick up the beers and also bottles of beers and also pick diapers for their babies. And eventually, do you know what the retail company did? They put the diaper rack just right beside the beer rack. So that's what data can do for you. It transforms how you do business so that you can be more profitable. Thank you.
Thank you, Toyosi. I was going to say something similar to what she said, but I would say data is life to me. And I'll give an illustration like what she did. Before Instagram was called Instagram, they used to be called Bourbon. And at the time, they had all kinds of things. So for example, they had like the picture taking parts, they had like community part, they had different things on the platform. And they just realized that people are not using all the other features. They were just using the picture taking aspect and the company wasn't growing. So next thing, because of the data that they had gotten from, everything that was embedded in the platform, like what Easyfin is doing, they decided to, let's kill all the other features and focus on the Insta part or the instant picture part of the app. And that's what we know as Instagram today. And that's why the company has grown. So like she said, data would help your business. It will help you make better decisions. And ultimately, you can actually reach a higher population of people if you're actually doing what people want. Thank you.
No,
So I would say that data is the truth. Data is going a level below high level. Data is statistics that make sense, that can be used for you to make inferences, for you to understand better, for you to make better decisions. So my starting by saying data is the truth is more like right now, there is this statement that there is no vacuum. Right now, there is air in this room. Every single space is occupied by matter. So you're being conscious that matter exists is also the way you'd be interested in the data. What you see is not exactly the full story. Break it down. Because when you break it down, you will have a deeper understanding of who you want to serve, and you will serve them in the best way possible because there will be no gaps.
Yeah, maybe.
That's fine. I got it. I think for me, I think data is direction, if we pick a word. So, and I think to echo what Toyosi said, data isn't very useful until you collect, analyze, store. But fundamentally, for me, data is direction. You look at a whole bunch of points, you see a bunch of things, and data puts sort of points you in the direction that you want to explore, that you want to dig deeper into, that you want to collect. And data helps, you feel something or you have a gut instinct or whatever it is. It's data that lets you know, okay, how do, am I actually right? Like, let's start collecting, let's start saying. So for me, that's the key thing.
Yeah, so just so I differ a bit from the other panelists. For me, data is insights. So insights into what you want to learn. If you have a lot of data, you have more insights. If you have less data, you have less insights. If you want to have insights on your customers, you need more customer-related data. You have insights on your business, more business-related data. So the more data you have, the more you can answer questions and the more insight you have on what's going on around.
Thank you, Dumebi. It's amazing that we all have different takes on data, but one thing is key. Data helps you make better decisions. So next we'll move into the next question. And this one is for Toyosi. As a woman, is there any bias when it comes to data? Does data reflect diversity, or is it focused on traditional, historic, flawed data?
Interesting. Thank you, Hadiza. So when I look at data and I look at how women make decisions generally, taking a step back, even without talking about data, there is no research that has said that women make less effective decisions than men. Yes, the way women approach decision-making might be different from the way men do, but at the end of the day, there is no research that says men make better decisions or women make better decisions. So let me just level set up to say that as a woman, there's nothing in you that is a disadvantage such that you're making weaker decisions or less effective decisions. Having said that, there's also no research that says that women are less analytical than men. As a matter of fact, there's a research I studied recently that had 32 studies. 12 of them actually show that women tend to be more analytical and default to data than men. 20 of those studies show that women and men actually make decisions and default to data the same way. So just be rest assured to say that there's nothing in you that's making you less analytical, and there's no research that says women are not able to make decisions from data, able to get insight from data. Having said that, it's also important to know that sometimes we don't have the skills to use data to make decisions. That is not gender-based and is not gender biased. You just need to be able to sort this out. And what are the steps you can take? The first thing about data, and I always tell people, is what are you trying to solve? What are you solving for? What questions are you asking? What answers do you need? What insight do you need? So it starts from asking the right questions. As an entrepreneur, as a leader in your business, what questions are you asking about your business, your customers, your employees, your clients, And I know when I came in, Zuno was saying a lot about your customer journey, mapping it out. So there are ways, so we have to continue to improve ourselves in terms of strategic thinking such that we can ask the right questions and then data can help, uncover some of these insights for better businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Toyosi. So the next question is for Ife. If I are in a business of empowering women through financial services, capacity building, jobs, and networking, but how do you encourage women to harness the use of data in their everyday life?
Thank you very much for that question. It's very clear, and I always use myself as a story whenever I'm trying to encourage women. So when we launched, before we used to be called AGS Tribe, and at the time we had this huge app before on Telegram. So everybody just used to talk about different things. It was first a very, very small community, and then we started growing and growing and growing. And I even have some people in this room who were also part of that group. And at the beginning, it was nice because it was still very small. But as we began to grow, we realized that people wanted to have different kinds of conversations. Some people want to talk about banking. Some people want to talk about business. Some people want to talk about career. Some people want to talk about sex. And you're wondering, okay, when you open your app, you're seeing 7,000 messages and then you're getting anxiety. And then we said, you know what, if we don't do something about it very, very quickly, we'll lose this community as a whole. And that was what led us to building an app. That is you getting information to make better decisions. Now we built this app and then we had different groups of people in different buckets, right? And then we had one called AGS Savings, and we just left it there. Nothing was happening in it. And then we noticed, before we opened it, 100 people had clicked that they wanted to join that community. Next thing, 200 people. Next thing, 1,000 people. We were like, what's going on? That means it was obvious that a lot of people were very interested in that savings. And you open and they'll be asking, when is this saving starting now? What are we doing? What is next? What's going on? So it was obvious that people wanted that. And then we now went the extra level, next level. That's how we even decided to pivot into fintech. And then we did a test and we saw that people wanted to save with us and people even trusted to save with us. And that's what we know as economy today. So when I tell people this story and say, you have to look at data, you have to look at, and you have to make those decisions for yourself in your life, in your business, in every aspect of what you do, even in your household. How are you putting out information, or how are you gathering information to know how much you're even spending? How are you budgeting for your family? How are you even planning ahead to ensure that you're hedging against several costs? So when you explain these things to people and let them know that this thing is not just, you're not just leveraging the data for just your business, you're actually doing it for your life to make your life even better and easier, then they begin to take it more seriously. So those are some of the ways that I've been able to, encourage the women within my community that it's important to take data very, very seriously. And like she said, if you can't do it yourself, even if you don't want to learn it yourself, you can actually get people on your team who actually analyze this data for you.
Thank you very much for that, Ife. I would like Iyamo to chip in because I know you're into Invest Bamboo. What they do is they basically teach people how to invest. And so how do you use this data to encourage people? Because I don't think Nigerians are really into the habits of investing. Nigerians would get money and it's basically leave today and tomorrow with me. So how do you use your data to encourage people?
So when I think about investing, I think it's we make this really complicated thing, but fundamentally people don't want to lose their money, right? So I don't think it's more yes, Nigerians aren't necessarily in the habit of investing, but it's mostly because a lot of the education, a lot of the information we get is mixed. So no one wants to lose their money. So we're talking about, I know you, for example, if I'm Giza, give me 1,000 naira and I'll give you back, you're more likely to give me your 1,000 naira than someone you don't know. So I think that's the first thing first of all, for us, we understood, and it's thinking about people as human beings. If you don't want to lose your money, the question then becomes, how do you get people more comfortable with investing? How do you get them more comfortable to understand that they won't lose their money? And that's where data comes in. Sometimes it's stuff as little as telling, giving people information around what are the top 5 stocks that other people bought this week, or letting people know what are the other gainers or what's doing well. So, it's sometimes just giving them that type of information. The second thing, very, very key for us is asking a lot of questions. So me as a human being, I ask so many questions. I always ask people why. Like if someone tells me something, I'm probably going to be like, oh, why do you think that? Why are you doing that? What do you want to do? And the same thing with our users as well, Generally, we try and ask our users as much information as possible, for as much information as possible, and as many questions as possible, so that we can collect data from them and collect feedback. And, like he said, collect insights from them that points us in the right direction and help answer their question in whatever way there is. And then using those, and then we put them in buckets, because when you ask enough questions from enough number of people, you find that, different people have different worries and are interested in various things. And then so that's sort of collecting, then sorting the data, and then we're able to answer and target those people and give them information they need.
So it boils down to having a strategy. And that leads to my next question for Dumebi. How can data be leveraged as a tool to build strategy?
In many ways, but in fact, I wanted to also just jump back on the investment side, because what many people don't realize is even like any other investment, whether it's in property or on land, even stock is a good investment that can even be collateralized. So you got the long-term benefit of that investment, and people can still leverage that for other benefits. So it's a great, I think, what Bamboo are doing. I think it's and it's something that data can definitely bring people more visibility on the long-term benefits, the trends, because some companies can use that data to say, right, this asset you have is actually one that you can use as collateral for 18 months loan. So there are a lot of benefits. I just wanted to add to that. But to your question, how did it help you? So a lot of companies are now becoming more and more aware that how do you manage the outlook to next 12 months? You've got COVID, you've got concerns about a recession, you've got concerns about many things. And how do you impact that into a business decision? And data can help you do that. Particularly if the data is there, you are even able to contribute macroeconomic variables. What happens if oil prices does this? What happens if house prices does this? What happens if inflation does this? Where will that lead you in 12 months? Great. It means that this is what my losses would be and my revenue would be. Therefore, should I reduce my hiring? Should I increase my sales? Should I reduce my cost? And it means that you can start to aggressively make decisions on the best case or worst case scenario in future. So very important for strategy. I'm seeing that more and more in businesses, particularly businesses who are very liquid, have a lot of cash, and I want to make sure that remains the case. So that's one good example of that.
All right, thank you, Dumebi. And obviously your strategy affects your customer experience. So Zeno, this question is for you. How does data help to improve customer experience?
So it's very important to understand the experience of your target audience, the customers who come to your outlet to benefit from the products and solutions that you have. Remember, when we looked at the journey of the customer, we talked about maintaining the relationship. So yes, you've carried out the transaction, but you don't want to just relish the fact that you've received payment. What happens beyond that singular encounter? This individual who has had a good experience or bad experience could lead to how you onboard more customers who would benefit from what you have to offer. So gathering data at the point where you are managing the relationship is very important. What are the channels that your customers would use to reach out to you quickly if there is a problem, if they have a bad experience with what you have to offer? There's a particular statistic, which is a data point. I was trying to get the precise number, I was searching for it, but I couldn't get that precise number. But that has to do with the patience people have when they are watching YouTube videos, for example. I remember earlier on in today's conversation, someone online asked the question related to the entertainment industry. That statistic indicates that there's a certain point of impatience with people who are viewing what's on YouTube. If you don't get to the point quickly, you lose their attention and they're off to something else. So if you're leveraging social media channels in order to reach out to people to understand what their experience has been with what you have to offer, it has to be quick. It has to be a platform that they readily have access to so that you can get that feedback and improve on what you offer. So in that regard, having the data, keeping the door open, making it easy for them to reach you and complain, or tell you what can be improved upon is very, very key. So it is something we should build into our existing processes to ensure that that easy access is in place and people are encouraged to tell you what's working, what is not successful, what can be improved, so that they have the feeling as your customers that they own the product too, and that you're all in one family. That's where you grow.
Thank you, Zeno. So the next question is for Toya Siba. I would also like Ife and Yamo to answer respectively. So data is part of business disruption. How can women in business use data effectively to map out success?
Thank you so much. I would approach this using on 2 dimensions. One is around building credibility as a female leader or as a female entrepreneur. So before I come into the core of the question, one of the things many of us women struggle with, or one of the challenges we have, with our careers, with our business, is building credibility. Not because we are not hardworking, not because we are not smart, or maybe just because we are not confident enough. A woman would typically work all night, all day, and when it's time to be right on the stage, she just chickens out. We've seen this over and over again. And some of the decisions even we make as business leaders, as entrepreneurs, sometimes we're not even sure of those decisions. And even when we are not sure, we don't appear to be sure of those decisions. So I think one of the things data does for you is to help you build your credibility. Because you know what you're saying. You're not only relying on your intuition or gut feeling, you have facts. And that's why we need to default to data. First, it builds your credibility as an individual. It builds your reputation for you because your decisions are data-driven, they are data-backed, and you're confident, you're able to approach it, with all sense of responsibility and confidence to say, this is why we are doing what we are doing. This is what the trend is saying. This is what we are saying. A typical example, let's just give, you sell maybe cold drinks, for example. You know it's going to rain from the weather forecast. That's data next week. Do you want to offer promo now, buy one, get one 50%, such that next week when they can come out to buy your product, then you've already upsell them this week, and you don't have a problem next week in terms of your numbers. But sometimes we just come out and we're not even sure this information is right. As women, I would say, let's default to data. Let's be data-driven in our decisions so that we can build our brand and our reputation and our leadership skills very well, and that credibility that we deserve, we can get it. And the second aspect of using data to drive business transformation, I think Yamo and WIMBIZ said it, data is humans. Don't see data as numbers, see them as humans. These are people statistics. These are numbers telling you things about human beings, typically most of the time. Whatever it is, it's either directly a human statistics or it's related to how a human being will behave or react. So when you start seeing data as humans, the way you approach data will be different. So beyond just looking at it on an Excel sheet or as a dashboard, see them as, and put your customers at the center of all your decisions. Don't just see it as, 20% of this. No, we have 15 girls that cannot go to school. What are we doing to it? When you start approaching data that way, we make better decisions. We put our customers, our clients, the people we are serving at the center of what we do, and definitely our businesses will be better off for it.
Thank you very much for that. In my opinion, definitely data would transform your business, and you have no choice as an entrepreneur to just let go of data because you would die. So I'll give an example as well. So I know of a family in the UK. The woman was the breadwinner and the husband was working, but obviously the woman had more money. But at this point in the UK, they were already getting bankrupt. And this was at the time where COVID was about to happen. And it was as if COVID came all of a sudden. So it wasn't something that people even prepared for. So they were already considering going to live in, I think, India, Dubai. They had already considered all options. And then and then COVID came, and then they realized that there was going to be a boom. So that's also data, that's information. Data is information, right? They knew there was going to be a boom. So the woman was a pharmacist, and then she just focused COVID, preparing for the COVID era. And today they're millionaires in dollars or in pounds. So imagine if she didn't leverage that information. There are a lot of other people in Nigeria and the UK that were in that industry that didn't quickly jump on it and they were not prepared. But she became prepared, and today she doesn't even know where to put the money in. She doesn't know what to invest in and all of that. So it's important for you to use data to transform your business. And that's the typical illustration of somebody who leveraged data to transform her. So as an entrepreneur, you have no choice.
Thank you, Ife.
Wait, so the question is, how can women use data to transform their
Yes.
businesses? Right?
So data is part of business disruption. How can women in businesses use data effectively to map out a company's success?
Okay, yeah. I think so. It goes back to the same thing. I think what Teresi and Ifam kind of said. And you know, I think Ruby said it earlier around data giving you insights. So data generally helps you know, like I said, I think it gives you direction. I think data can help you decide where to focus. You know, sometimes you're running a business. I think like a lot of us here either running business or working in businesses, and you see like 2 or 3 things are happening at the same time, or you're at this point in a business where you have finite resources, and so you can only pursue one option, and there are 3 options in front of you. The data you have, collecting that data around you, is what helps you know what to do. So for us, you know, as an example, for us at Bamboo, education is a big part of what we do. And, you know, helping people understand the stock market, understand investing is really, really important for us. And we noticed there was this period in our business where a number of new accounts were growing. So a lot of people were coming. And then deposits were also rising. So like the obvious thing that you would imagine is that trades would also be rising, but then they weren't. And it was just the most confusing time because all of us were like, you know, what is going on? Like more people are joining, more people are putting money, and then why aren't they, you know, buying or selling any stocks? And so we, you know, so for us internally, we start by just brainstorming what could be going on, what could be happening. Everyone just says random ideas. So when we have those sessions, people come up with all sorts of crazy things, and that's fun. But that's just, you know, everyone's talking. It's just banter at the end of the day. And then, but then what you do is you you sort them, look through, okay, which are most feasible, and then you go and look what would tell me that this is correct. So that's a question we're asking. How do I know if I'm correct? How do I know if I'm wrong? And everyone goes and chases down a couple of data points, as I call them, or information points. And at the time, it turns out was something for us, was something as simple as it was, you know, economically a lot was going on that was getting people to invest, but people weren't sure. So there was a period where a lot of people that actually had put money and just didn't know what to buy. And so you ask people around, well, how do you know what to buy? And we'd been sending a lot of emails to people, but that was the same period. And then from using data, collecting that information, we realized that, oh, we were actually sending people too many emails. So the emails were coming like every day, Yamo from Bamboo, Yamo from Bamboo. The emails were coming, and you know, we're just sending too many people, and then it was now too much information. So you were getting the Bamboo prompt from email marketing, and you know, people, it was working and getting people to sign up and getting people's deposits, but no one was actually opening those emails to read the information and see what recommendations we're making. So they were going, you know, 2 steps we're making, but they weren't making the final step to and that's an interesting thing for us because we don't make money if you don't trade. So we're doing all this where people are coming, but we're just wasting, you know, we're just wasting our time. So we refined our marketing strategy now. We send fewer emails. There's more video because we learned that most people don't want to read a long email, and most people are happier to listen to a 40-second to 1-minute video than do that. And we immediately started to see the effects of that. So that's just a simple example of data actually helping. So I think it's just collecting the data and strategizing. And I think also one thing I'll say generally is being is not holding on to things, because it would have been very, very easy for us as a company to be like, no, we like send email work. You have to be willing to actually follow the data and follow the feedback that, you know, analyzing data gives you, and let it go, you know, let stuff go quickly and make those decisions. So yeah.
Thank you, Yamo, for that. It's interesting that you talk about the challenges that you had in the beginning. And I just want to ask this question. So coming from, because we've been talking about data, and it's speak about data, thinking everybody understands and knows how to use this data. But Yamo, for example, you come from a chemical engineering background. So how were you able to transition from that to investments and knowing that you had to use this data to?
So interesting. That was like a database decision. I think I knew I wasn't going to be a chemical engineer in like 3 weeks of 3 weeks of doing my degree, but I'm also Nigerian and my parents paid my school fees, so I had to finish. I had to finish my degree. But no, on a more serious note, so for me then it was that though, like immediately, very soon, like I started university, I knew I didn't like it. Like it was very, very quick. And so for me, the rest of my time in university, it was knowing that, okay, what are my choices? So again, it's that whole like throwing hypotheses or different things at the wall. What are my choices here? Not finishing my degree was not one. So there we go. And then, so the option there is, what am I going to the rest of this time? How do you make it count? And for me, that meant figuring out what I wanted to do, because I also knew figuring out what I wanted to do post-university wasn't an option for me. Because so I spent all that time literally collecting information around what I didn't want to do. I did so many jobs, so many random jobs, did so much work experience, learned a lot of stuff. And again, that's collecting information, collecting data, and figuring out what I wanted to do here. I think generally being analytical generally helps. And like Toya said, women are just as analytical as men. We are, this whole thing about women only make decisions from an emotional place is not a real thing. And so it's generally just that in terms of collecting information, remembering that, I'm a human being. And so it sounds like this big and complex thing where you're like, oh, data and insights, but it's more just what are the various things that you can pull together that help you make an informed decision. And so for me, in terms of how I actually started working in finance and investing, as I moved back to Nigeria, I realized that, okay, I like, I did NYSC and I was processed like Ministry of Power. So I was like, okay, I like this is quite interesting, but okay, data point, I don't want to work in the government. But another data point, I like working in power. Another data point, I like math. Anything. So I was like, I started looking for a job what is the thing that intersects all of this? And, I happened to get a job in finance for like investing in power type projects. And that was interesting and that I liked, and started going. And then while I was doing that, I was studying for my CFA at the time, and I wanted to start investing. So I had done like saved money, so I'd done mutual funds, all like the Nigerian stock. And I remember I wanted to buy Amazon stock, I think it was at the time. And I searched literally far and wide to try and buy. Like I tracked the American ones, the UK ones, but having Nigerian passport, so no one was onboarding. No one was going to onboard in my Nigerian passport. I checked all the Nigerian brokers, and when I say all, I literally mean all. And the minimums were either too high, or like there was one who was like, oh, and I was talking to my co-founder about it at the time, so collecting more data points. And my co-founder was like, oh, him to hear the same problem. And he checked so many, like a big asset manager who told him, oh, the person who handles this is on leave, come back in 3 weeks. Like it was just a lot of stuff. And essentially that's sort of how we started Bamboo. At the time, again, where I was in terms of like informed decision making, I wasn't trying to like run a startup. Like so my co-founder was very into, so I was like, okay, fantastic. Whenever I actually have this problem, I want to invest in stock. If you ever build this thing, let me know. I would really love to be your first user. And he was like, oh, sure, I'll let you know. And then he keeps giving me more and more information about that's collecting data points again, until finally I felt confident and able to make an informed decision. Say, yes, I'm happy. So I think that's just more, it's like Baby said, the more information, more data you have, the more insights the more insights you have, and the more informed your decisions.
Amazing. Thank you, Yamo. Speaking of experiences, with your experience in both the UK and Nigeria, maybe what would you say are the differences between the access to data in both countries?
So obviously in the UK, there's a lot more data. There's Credit Bureau, which has a much better traction than in Nigeria. There's companies that you can buy data. Let's say if you want to identify a car license plate, you want to identify a person's name, there's a lot of data. And mostly because that market is more mature on a lot of that. And that's why you find that it's easy to get information on people and companies when you want to make a decision. Whereas Nigeria is not as much, to be candid. Credit Bureau traction here is low, and not many vendors sell data that can give you visibility, even on the basic things, But the market is improving. There are third parties that are coming up, trying to give people access to more data. I know even open banking is making some traction in Nigeria. I know it might take some time before that matures. And but nonetheless, there's still alternative data that can be used to apply for solve the same problems. So being able to decide if you want to lend to a business, you don't need data on credit bureau, but you could actually do that via reference of transaction history, perhaps, or via reference from sales performance, perhaps, or via reference from a what happens downstream with their products or services. So that's how, at least in the short term, this market is covering those gaps. And what I expect to happen is there will be a convergence where, as that matures, and also as the normal data channel matures, we're going to get to a point where we're a lot more sustainable as far as being able to get information more easily. But it's taken time, and we're getting there. But to summarize, not as mature as in the UK, but there are alternative means of getting to the same answer.
Thank you, Dumebi. So you have some experience with multinationals as well. I'd like to hear your take on this.
Thank you. I think Dumebi has made a very valid point around the amount of data that we have here and also in the in more developed countries. But just in addition to that, of course, there are the differences. I'm sure you all know them. Affordability remains a challenge here of technologies, and another key thing, skills. You keep seeing all sort of initiatives around women in technology, women in data, women in analytics, and it's even beyond women. We are, the skills are short here because I think Yam or somebody said it. Fine, data looks simple, no doubt. There's still a part of the technicalities to it because, and if you also mentioned that you can hire people that can analyze the data, that can predict, and make some forecasts for you with your data. So we still have challenges around the technology, the affordability, the skills, and even to a large extent governance, because you also need to respect people's personal information. You need to respect data. You need to use data for what you've collected it for, so all of those things are still maturing here, but we will get there.
Thank you, TSC. To conclude, since we're almost out of time, before we go into the question and answer session, in 30 seconds, I'd like each of the panelists please please state what the main message they would like the audience to take away today.
So I'll just that. I think I'll just summarize all I've said to say that treat data as humans, and just know that as a woman, you can make great decisions. You can transform your businesses. Just relying data and making analytical decisions as well, and you'll be fine. Thank you for having me.
I'd say leverage data to grow your business. Embed EasyFin into your businesses because it will make your life easier. Because it's very difficult for you to actually understand data if it's not something that you're used to. So if you have something that can help you, machine learning, artificial intelligence, analyze it for you, then you make better decisions. Thank you.
I would say start with knowing yourself, understand your processes, and then know your customer. Build your business around your customer. Start gathering data. We're talking about data, the transactions that they are performing with you. Use that to know more about them. Leverage other bigger sources like maybe Nigeria Bureau of Statistics and any other source. Convergence is coming, but until that time, use the information that you have to know your customer better and build your processes, enhance them based on what you know from them.
I guess I would say if you're looking at a large amount of data, especially if you're not already comfortable, I think always start when you analyze data. I would always say start with your problem. So start thinking about what problem it is you're trying to solve, and then try and ask yourself, what are the various data points? What is various information that can help me decide on a good solution for this? And then follow that path and then go step by step, look at all the other solutions and then pick which one is the best. Simply because, data can be a lot of things, and this helps point you in the right direction to, to go in generally. And yeah, thanks for having me, and, download Bamboo, invest with Bamboo.
Yeah, so I think everyone said everything perfectly. So I would say if you're an SME or you own a business of your own, and what you've heard here resonates, don't feel that particularly if you are not analytical or you haven't got a big budget, or you've been on your fresh brand new company or your old company, it's not too late. If you want to get on the horse of being data driven, you're actually right on time, and realization is the first step. As already been mentioned, the first thing I recommend doing, looking at what you have, look at your data, look at your business, and then you find that the answer comes. And of course, if you want to leverage a third party, we're here. But you don't always have to. Sometimes even the most basic things can get you a long way. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. So now we're going to go into question and answers. Does anyone have any questions for any of the panelists, either in person or online? Okay, we have a question online. Ibukun Oshikoya is asking, how do you leverage data in real estate business? She didn't say who she wanted, so anyone can answer this.
Maybe I'll start with that one. So real estate business. I mean, again, for every business, there's the obvious place of just collecting and doing some basic analytics, where your revenue is coming from, where your customers are coming from, things like that. I think with real estate, the obvious opportunity is obviously being able to sell your real estate. And you could apply your data to perhaps offer people a means of paying up for your real estate. So you want to, just a suggestion, you could even look at partnering with, having the data first, being able to collect that data and say, you know what, this is what I know about this customer. Is this customer in a position where I can give them perhaps a payment plan? Very important nowadays. Real estate is very expensive. So can I get this person on sort of a monthly installment because I have enough data to suggest that the person can uphold the amount? Or rather, if you don't want to do that, can they put an upfront payment? And then was that enough for me to then give them a 12 to 24 month paying plan period? But again, for every business, the first step is, as I said earlier, collecting the data and then seeing what you can learn about your customer and about your business. And then after that, those obvious opportunities become clear.
Thank you, Dumebi. Does anyone else have anything else?
I'll just add that in every business, knowing your customer is key. Who are you targeting? Do you have information about them? What's their income level? What's the household? Are you analyzing the household data? We have a household research in Nigeria. I think Dumebi mentioned, no, I think it was Zeno actually that mentioned leveraging the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. What's the income level? The last 2 years, there's been crazy inflation and increase in prices. How is that impacting real estate? How is it impacting your customers? Are other things competing, for the income that they will typically pay you, And also back to Dumebi's point, are people able to pay lump sum, or will they rather spread over years? So there are a lot of macroeconomic data that you can leverage to really understand. Then also location analytics, where are you trying to do your real estate business? What are the different peculiarities in those places? Doing business in Ibadan real estate is different from doing it in Maryland, is different from doing it in Lekki. So are you gathering enough data about the location, the people, the age, the demographics, their purchasing power, and so forth and so on? And based on that, you can even forecast what your revenue will look like and how many customers you can eventually get.
Thank you very much, Teosi. We have another question. How do you leverage data in the automobile repair industry as a startup? I guess that's for you.
Is that the automobile industry?
Yes.
Okay. Again, so it doesn't matter the industry. There's always this process is the same. Aggregating data, understanding your business, understanding your customer, and then see if that data can be used to bring them a value-added service. So again, automobile, people you want to encourage people to purchase. So can you make it easy for them to purchase, given the current climate with the inflation, with the FX situation? Can you make it affordable for them to buy your cars more easily and more quickly? So the same thing applies. What I recommend, particularly any subsequent questions along these lines, is the first step is just making sure that you have the data initially to understand your business, understand your customer. If you don't have the data, or you don't think you have the data, then I definitely recommend getting support from a specialist to see, because sitting down in a room for even 30 minutes can provide, with someone that knows what they're doing, can really provide at least the guiding steps for you to kind of get to that maturity. But you find there's a lot that you can do already by just sitting down and really paying attention to what the data is telling you and then seeing what you can do going forward.
So maybe another, Hannah is asking, how about data security? There has been several incidences where data has been misused and mishandled. How are the different business owners securing their businesses? Also, general advice for us in the audience.
Can I comment on that?
Yes, go ahead, please.
So I would say two things. The first one is people who have nefarious intent, ill intent with regard to information will always be there. And they would always want to think of creative ways to circumvent any processes with regard to safe storage of data. That doesn't mean we'll stop storing data. Accidents occur on the road will not prevent us from driving vehicles, for example. But what is out there that is safe? What are the reports about the platforms available? Right now, there's a lot of cloud technology for storing information and data. Are you using a reputable source for storage of your data? It might cost a little bit more, but then it's going to cost even much more if your data is stolen. If you're a victim of, for example, ransomware, it's going to cost a whole lot more. So do not shy away from services whereby you can store your data, but ensure that they are reputable service providers and there are references for people in your own industry or from any other industry that have utilized their services. Then the second thing I would mention, which I actually wanted to say earlier, pertains to your information gathering, your collection of data before you even store it. If you want to get data from your existing customers, and like was earlier mentioned, Dumebi mentioned this, Yamo mentioned this as well, that data is insights and helps your decision making. But if you really want to get this data from your customers, they have what we need. They want what we have. But is the process simple for them? If it's a lengthy survey, lengthy questionnaire, cumbersome process, bombardment with emails, which was mentioned earlier on, I would run away from that personally. I'm not going to give you what you need to service me best. So let's make the process for gathering data from them, which is out there, simple and short. And in that way, we'll be able to get what we want and then store in reputable cloud systems.
Thank you, Zeno. So we have a number of questions from our online audience, but I'd like to bring it in-house. Does anyone in the audience here have any questions for any of our panelists? A hand behind. Gentleman in the back.
Hello, everybody. My name is Shea Shurako.
Can you speak louder, please?
Hello, everybody. My name is Shea Shurako from Abafit Investment. Do we have any local community where women can visit to be able to access any kind of data they need for their businesses?
Sorry, we can't hear you over here.
My name is Shea Shurako from Abafit Investment. Do you have any local communities where ladies can visit in case they need any information, any data for their businesses?
Hi, so they can visit her economy. So we always have information put out there. So for information on grants that can help their businesses, information on investment opportunities, loan opportunities, if they want specific information on how they can better their businesses. So for example, they want to do surveys, for example, people come and meet us because they know that we have a pool of women in our community. Right now, we're about 16,000 women. So they should definitely be part of the Her Economy community. And you can literally just go on the iOS or Android store and download the app and it's clear. Thank you. And you can also follow us on Instagram where we also put out information as well. Thanks. Her Economy, HERCONOMY.
Thank you, Ife. Any more questions in-house? Okay, so we'll move back online. I'll take 2 more questions and then we would call it a day. Someone is asking, can any of the panelists take in mentees whom they can mentor on data gathering and usage? Aliyah Eunice.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, go ahead. You can-
Yeah, please feel free to send me a message on LinkedIn. I'm Toyosi Odukoya. Just connect with me on LinkedIn, then we'll take it up from there. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I was going to add. So, Ethan, we have interns. So, so if you're interested in internship, by all means, drop an email to us. You can reach us on the website or on LinkedIn. For men's, we don't formally do mentorship, but again, connect on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to give you any advice or feedback or any things you want to know more about data and the ecosystem.
Thank you, TSC and WIMBIZ. So we'll take one last question. The process of getting data is not cheap. What are some of the low-cost ways a Nigerian MSME can employ in getting valid and reliable data? I love practical ways. Godwin Henry.
Surveys, I already mentioned it earlier. That's the easiest way. You can send it to family, friends, and beg them to send them to their own family and friends. I think that's the easiest and most cost-effective way to get out information for your business. Thank you.
In addition to what you just heard about going to the economy website and other sources like that, we cannot move away from the high touch engagement. High touch is in person, talking to people, personal interview. And it's something which we do in Women's World Banking, whereby we don't just do desk research, but we actually go into the markets, Idumota, Balogun, Oyingbo, to discuss with the women, understand what their own struggles are. Let them tell us their stories. So yes, if you want to get some primary feedback from respondents, do not discount the in-person. It's cumbersome, it takes a lot of time, but still include that in part of your information gathering, or you can say for validation purposes. So other people have done the work, don't reinvent the wheel, learn from them, but also do a bit yourself. And you can keep it small, a representative cluster of a larger group, and that would be helpful as well.
I think just to add to what Zeno has mentioned, you find that most of the time, not all data sources are exactly what you need. So even though they're there, they may not answer all the questions that you have, particularly for your business. It's actually quite rare that you find perfect data for what you need. So to Zeno's point, the usual best way to start is internally or directly collecting your own data. But of course, and as that matures, you might find that there are things you can enrich data in your own data with, not necessarily rely solely on it. So again, it depends on your business, but there's not always a case where you can just get data that fits exactly what you need.
One thing I'll add, just Zeno's point was around, I think the best, cheapest way is talking to your users, because they're literally the people that you're trying to serve in any way. So for example, us at Bamboo, I'm pretty certain that between Richmond and I, we spoke to the first 500 people who deposited on Bamboo 100%. Is the reason I don't use WhatsApp anymore, because at least 1,000 people have my phone number. So WhatsApp is easy for me. So I think that's the most important thing. And I think the second thing is the other thing that makes, data analytics generally more expensive is that the more data you have, the more people charge you for it. So if as far as possible, where you can streamline or minimize, the sample size or whatever you're trying to do, you might be able to be more affordable. And so that's why I always ask people to think about what is it that you're trying to do. And so in that, especially when you have limited resources, focus on that. For example, someone asked, how can you leverage data in real estate? If you go to a third party and use that, they'll probably have some astronomical figure for you, because that's a whole bunch of things. But if you look at your business and say, okay, I'm trying to sell more houses, then that's there's a smaller data set there. I'm trying to buy more houses. I'm trying to sell houses in Ikoyi. I'm trying, just trying to minimize the data, the sample size or collection or the amount of data you need to answer your question is also a good way to start initially.
You can also do focus groups. So, and that's something that we said, okay, directly, but focus groups, for example, let's say you want to start producing orange juice, and you know that there are different orange juice companies, there's Chivisa, there's Wilson's, there's this, have your own mix as well that you've already created. Call the focus group or call a couple of people, let's say 15 people, sit together, pour all the different juices and include your own and tell them to pick which one is best. And that way you can now decide, okay, this person likes this taste. Okay, add a little bit of water. Oh, this one is too thick. Oh, you should add pulp. Oh, you should do this, you should do that. And then that way you're gathering information. Finish there, go to another group of people and tell them to try it out as well. When you do it 10 times, then you'll be able to decide on which routes to go.
Thank you very much to all our panelists present here today. Now that we've come to an end, we'd like to appreciate you guys and as a gift. I would like to invite our CEO, Uzoma Dozier, and ED of WIMBIZ, Mrs. Hansatu. Next, we would like to reward the first person who got here today. And they'll be presenting the gift to that person. Sorry, Zainab Aliyu. Rita. Thank you, everyone. Next, we're going to vote of thanks and announcements. And the vote of thanks will be taken by Lerato Okoro.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so very much as graced our invitation. I know that we've all learned one thing or the other that we can across our business. I have. I'm a real estate entrepreneur, and I know that just listening to the amount of insight from each of the panelists, I mean, I've been able to improve my knowledge of how important data is to all of our businesses. Going forward, I mean, would like to say thank you to everyone who is not already a member of the WIMBIZ and associate. And if you would like to know more about the organization, you can meet any of the others. Precious, there's Talkware. Please raise your hand wherever you are so that people can know who to find. So they're just at the back, two of them at the back. You can ask myself, you can ask Zainab. I'm pretty sure you can ask Ife also. You know, I mean, at least we can tell you our own experience as members, and that also help you make it to join us or not. Going forward, we're going to be having a conference later this year in November that is very largely a not to be missed event by women in business across the board. We have very insightful programs planned for that event. We would also be having WIMBIZ e-roundtable happening, I think this weekend. No, June 11th, sorry. And it's a virtual event, so you can sign up. I'm sure since everybody here has registered one way, shape, or form, we would be able to send all of that information to you. If you'd like to know more about us digitally, socially, you can follow us on all social media channels, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. Yes, so that at least you can keep up, being updated about information programs such as these that you could also register and benefit from as time goes on. As you leave here and go back to your respectful offices, businesses, other activities of the day, I'd like to wish you a very great day, and we'll look forward to having you again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Loretta. Just to close out, I would like to encourage everyone here to please download Sparkle Nigeria. We're a digital bank. And of course, we supported this event. It was very lovely having you guys. We have loads of cool features on our apps. And one thing I would like to say here is that for every person that you refer to the Sparkle app, using your own referral code, you earn 500 Naira. So yeah, so you should definitely join our tribe. And exactly, Sparkle me. Follow us on all social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and I will be happy to answer all your questions. Once again, my name is Hadiza Lawal, and I am the Communications and Partnership Lead at Sparkle Nigeria. It was amazing anchoring this event. Thank you.